It's Presley at ActOutGames.com here, and Paul and Laura Beth asked if I could talk more about my diet, the Feingold Diet. So we're going to talk more about it today. So yeah, let's talk about that. I stole that from Red and Link. Yay!
Did you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your diet?
Okay, so my diet keeps me away from preservatives and dyes.
That's a big chunk of it.
Yep. But we've taken away some histamine and some salicylates.
Salicylates, that's right. So the four...
Whenever I think of salicylates, I think of bananas for some reason.
Bananas have salicylates? Well, bananas have more histamines.
Yeah, than salicylates.
Yeah, than salicylates. But so the four things that we try and avoid in your diet, and some of them come from Feingold, and some of them
come from
we've added ourselves. That's right. So artificial colors, artificial preservatives, histamines, natural histamines, and natural salicylates. Right, we try and avoid those things. Right?
And, well, basically, we pretty much avoid all things in food that is artificial.
We do, yeah, and even like I said, even when you're avoiding artificial things and eating organic,
sometimes people lie.
Sometimes people lie, but you also end up with histamines and salicylates, which are natural. And there are a lot of fruits, and there are a lot of things. So if you have a histamine sensitivity or salicylate sensitivity, then you have to pay attention to even just eating whole natural foods isn't good enough. But so just before we dig too deep into it, I want to say that do your own research.
Yes, please.
Check these things out. Read. We'll post some links in the comments to a couple of places where you can start looking into a couple of things. And our evidence for this is very anecdotal. It's very much about Presley and how it's impacted her and how she behaves differently. Anecdotal, yeah, anecdotal. It means like we didn't do a big research study and test thousands of people and see in some like formal scientific research. We just saw how it happened with you and how you behave when you eat different things and how your behavior changes.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's anecdotal. It's just an anecdote. Well, I know how you have behaved. Right?
Yeah, I thought you said anecdotal.
No, not anecdotal. Anecdotal. So it's very anecdotal, like an anecdote. Yeah. Anecdote. That's what an anecdote is. I'm going to tell you a cute little story about that one thing that happened one time. It doesn't mean things always happen like that. It just means that one time. So that's a good word for you to know. Anecdote. It's one of my favorite words. And so the evidence that we have for what we're doing is very anecdotal, and it's very much based on Presley. But it's very clear how her behavior can change based on what she eats, right? And how you feel based on what you eat. And it took us a while to kind of get where we were going to go. Get to where we are now with settling in on the diet that we're doing. And certainly, I have no objections to eating organic foods and staying away from pesticides.
Yes.
So there's, the kinds of things you want to look at. Leaky gut is probably pretty important to take a look at. Like I said, histamine and salicylate sensitivities are really important to look at. And, the preservatives and colors mostly. I mean, if you just do a little bit of research on what's in those things, it's pretty amazing what's in some of the things that in the what do you know of that's in some of the artificial preservatives, let's say?
Like acid?
Well,
acid is in some foods that people enjoy, like McDonald's.
Right, like formaldehyde, petroleum is one of the big things that really kind of scares me. You know what petroleum is?
No, but I know that we have petroleum jelly in the closet.
It's what they make, like oil and gas for your car.
Okay.
Right? And they put that in some of the artificial preservatives specifically. So they put it in to replace like vegetable oils. So a lot of packaged food, instead of having a vegetable oil in it, will have a petroleum-based oil in it because it doesn't go bad. It doesn't go rancid like vegetable oil would. So they use it as a preservative. So the food lasts longer in the can or in the packaging, but it's petroleum that you're eating. And I mean, that's just kind of a disgusting kind of thing.
Eating petroleum. And
so people can respond very differently, especially like the colors and BHT, which is one of the preservatives that's used quite a bit. Has got there's pretty good research out there that shows that it actually increases aggression in kids. And that's one of the things we saw with Presley, is that when she was eating some of the preservatives and some of the artificial coloring,
like I was eating M&Ms a lot.
M&Ms and things like that, she would get really angry. It's a really kind of a weird thing. The other thing, like a symptom that you see, what do we always see in you when you're reactionary?
Freaking out.
Well, besides freaking out, well, no. Like physically, what do we see?
Physically, red face.
Red face. So you, when she's having a reaction to something, a histamine or salicylates, typically we think her face will turn really red. So I'll cut in a little piece of video from one of her other blogs where you can see how red her face gets.
Yeah, or just a random picture that we got of my face red.
We have plenty of pictures. It happens all the time. And so, you know, when you start paying attention to it, you start seeing it everywhere. You'll see kids running around with like these super just flaming red faces, and they're bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, and I'll be like, oh, this person needs to go on the Feingold Diet. I just walk around every day and like, this person needs to go on the Feingold Diet. This person needs to go on the Feingold Diet. This person needs to go on the Feingold Diet.
And so, I mean, you have to kind of keep your mouth shut about it because people don't want to necessarily hear you talking about the dietary changes. And like I said, it's very anecdotal. It worked for us. You know, it might work for you. It's worth doing some research and trying out. But especially if you're seeing this sort of red face thing, if you're seeing aggression, if you're seeing like Presley gets really clingy too, like she'll be like grabbing the cat and hugging us and like really kind of in your face, and intense is one of the words we use for it. She gets super intense when she's being reactionary.
Oh, and when I'm reactionary, sometimes I have two places to go. To my bed with the phone or on the computer, and I stay there for long amounts of time.
That's true.
Like
it's one of the signs too.
Yeah, when I'm reactionary, I just like. Yeah. No, I'm not moving. No, I'm not moving.
Well, one of the things that we talk about a lot is we call it presence, like Presley being present when we're having a conversation or when we're doing some homeschool or something like that. And when she's reactionary, it's impossible for her to be present. Like right now, you're very present. You're engaged in the conversation. You're paying attention. You're looking at me. Your eyes are bright. And she's in a really good state right now. And when she's having a reaction, when she's eating something she shouldn't eat, then that goes away. And she can't focus, and she can't sit still, and she can't pay attention. I mean, she has enough trouble sitting still as it is. But when she's reacting, she's got normal kid energy now and not just, you know, really crazy stuff. Presley has mentioned several times on several of her vlogs that she can't eat something because she's on a diet. And people tend to sort of respond back and freak out that she's on a diet.
Like, you're losing weight. Why do you need to lose weight? You're already skinny.
Right, so she's not trying to lose weight, obviously.
No.
We're trying to avoid those four big groups that we talked about before. So artificial colors, artificial preservatives.
Dyes.
What colors are dyes?
Yeah.
Preservatives, salicylates, and histamines. And
but I can have some histamine. I do eat peanut butter and cheese regularly.
Right.
That's histamine, but I can eat it still. There's just specific histamine things that I can't have, like strawberries and chocolate. Well, I can have chocolate occasionally.
That's right.
Chocolate, but there's these things that I can't have that have histamine in them, and things that I can have.
Yeah, there's different types of histamine and different types of salicylates that behave in different ways, and so people have very different reactions to different types of things. Some salicylates you can eat, some you can't. You can build your tolerance back up, and so when you follow the Feingold Diet specifically, they have different phases of the diet. In the first phase, you're trying to pretty much eliminate salicylates from your diet, and then once you get that and sort of get cleaned up, you slowly start bringing them back in, and you build your tolerance back up, and over time you should be able to eat more and more sows, as they call them. And so the other thing is that there are probably some specific preservatives and colors that Presley has a lot of reactions to, but it's very difficult to tease those things apart and say, you know, we want to avoid this specific thing, like BHT, for example, and other things are okay because they just kind of all, it said, you know, when you read the packaging, it says artificial preservatives or artificial colors. The color of the dyes are listed out a lot better now.
Yeah, it'll say like red 2, yellow 3, some blue. 18.
And there are some that are worse than others that we pay attention to, but at this point we just eliminated them. It's just easier just to say, look, there's just too much crap in this stuff. We're not going to eat it. Yeah. One other thing that makes, like BHT specifically, I think about in this case that makes me nervous about BHT is that the manufacturers. BHT started getting this rap for causing, you know, anxiety in kids or hyperactivity in kids or aggression even, and so they started eliminating it from a lot of foods and replacing it with other things. But one of the things that they started to do was take the BHT and they spray it on the inside of the package. So like chips, I think I'm not going to name a chip brand right now because I don't know.
Doritos.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're in Doritos. I don't want to name something and be wrong.
Yeah.
Is what I mean. But so they'll take the bag and they'll spray the bag with a BHT, but they won't put it in the chips when they make the chips, and so they don't have to list it as an ingredient because it's considered part of the packaging and not part of the food. And so when they put the chips in the bag, the chips get coated in the BHT and preserved with it, but because they did it as part of the packaging process, it's not even listed as an ingredient. So this is where Feingold is really important. Yeah, I know it sucks. It's a ridiculous thing to do. Feingold is really important because what they do is they talk to manufacturers and they find out about the ingredients and their practices and whether this is going on or not. And so they have an approved list of foods, and if it's on that list, you don't have to worry about, like, their focus is on the preservatives and the colors and the salicylates. And so if it's on that list, you're probably covered in those 3 areas. And then histamine-rich foods you can find out quite a bit about.
And you do have to buy.
You do. I was going to say, yeah. So you purchase the Feingold list or access to the website where you can get those things.
And then you can get it everywhere you want. And somehow, on my mom's iPad, I think it became an app, and I don't know how to make websites as an app.
Yeah, she's got an app. Well, she's got a link to the website.
As an app.
And you can see they cover restaurants. So when you go to a certain restaurant, you can look and see what foods you can eat and things. So it's for us, it's very much worth it, and it's been really helpful, and it's made huge changes in Presley's behavior and how she feels and her ability to be present and things like that. So we really appreciate it, and it's done wonders for us. What do you think? Are you happy with it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though I'm kind of...
It takes some getting used to.
Yeah, I'm kind of mad that I can't go to Sonic anymore. I want to go to...
Sonic.
Right now, I really want to go to Sonic.
Where do you say all the time you want to go so that you can eat M&Ms?
Europe, right?
So
Europe took out all that stuff.
Europe has banned a lot of this stuff already.
Yes.
And so...
I'm like, take me to Europe so I can eat all their M&Ms.
Right. I think Canada maybe even has banned some of this stuff. But yeah, so they're when we talk about the diet, we just wanted to take a couple of minutes and say that's what we mean when we talk about the diet. It's been really helpful to us.
I'm not attempting to lose weight.
But it is a case of one.
Yes.
It was a study of one, so it's not, hugely. But do some research. Follow the links that we'll post down there, and take a look and see what you think. And maybe it can help you out too if you're struggling with it. And watch for little red-faced kids running around because they're everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so basically I walk around going, this person needs Feingold, this person needs Feingold, this person needs Feingold.
Mm-hmm.
That's, yeah.
Okay, you want to wrap us up?
So, yeah. Thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!
I forgot to mention something yesterday when we shot the vlog, so I wanted to shoot something really quick before edit and post and upload and stuff, right? So that's why we're in different clothes and why the new...
I think I was actually wearing Titanfall yesterday.
I'm not surprised you're in the same clothes, but the backdrop changed and stuff. So anyway, what I neglected to talk about yesterday, something that's pretty important, that again, I'll put some links down in the description, and you should read up on your own, but I wanted to mention something that's called leaky gut syndrome, and we didn't really talk about that yesterday, I don't think. But I think it's one of the reasons that all of these things that we talked about is important. Like I said, I'll put some links in the description so you can read about this quite a bit yourself, but to give you like a really super simplified, high-level version of what this means, one of the ways that your body defends itself, like the first line of defense people consider to be your gut, right? And so your stomach and your stomach lining and the way that your stomach works when food is kind of passing through it, the food gets broken down into smaller and smaller pieces, and there's tiny little gaps basically in your stomach lining that nutrients are able to pass through, but bad things can't pass through. And so those bad things pass through and get excreted like a filter. It's very much like a filter. And so that's the first line of defense, to keep bad stuff out of your blood and out of your body.
Acid get rid of the bad stuff.
Acid breaks a bunch of stuff up, and you pee and poop it out, and it goes away that way too. So one of your stomach's defense mechanisms, though, is when your stomach gets like a bad bacteria in it, or something is going on that your stomach can't handle.
Something that you can't digest well, or that's not good for you.
Yeah, that's right. And your stomach can't handle it as sort of its line of defense. It does a couple of things. Two of the big things that it does, one of them is it just speeds up the process a lot. And it tries to flush everything out of your body really quickly. And when it does that, there's not enough time for your intestines to absorb a whole bunch of moisture. And so a bunch of moisture still stays in stuff that passes through your system. And so we end up with what we all know and love as diarrhea. because it's real liquidy and it doesn't have time to absorb because it's trying to flush the bad stuff out. The other thing it does is it secretes this, I don't know if it's an enzyme or a protein, called zonulin. And
it's a really complicated name.
It is. It's a cool word, though. We'll have to look and see if we can build a zonulin molecule with our molecule kit. But so the zonulin tells the stomach, like where these tiny gaps are that nutrients can pass through, it opens those up bigger. And it lets that bad stuff flow out of the stomach and into your bloodstream. So it's a little counterintuitive that your stomach would do that. But what it's doing is it's bringing your entire immune system to bear on this bad stuff. So it lets that stuff go into your blood, and then suddenly your body starts attacking it with white blood cells, and you run a fever because it's trying to heat up and kill those things, and inflammation happens, and like all of these things happen to flush your stomach out and to make your system clean again. And you get sick for a little bit, but then it closes those windows back up. The zonulin window closes back up tight, and stuff can't pass through anymore. And you get kind of back to where you were. So that process is really important in how the body defends itself, and it works well, and when it needs it, it uses it, and maybe you get sick a little bit, but then you get better pretty quick. So what's happening, what seems to be almost at epidemic levels these days, is that for some reason, those windows in the gut are opening up inappropriately. They're opening at the wrong time, or they're staying open and not closing.
Or they're closing and not going open.
Yeah, closing and not going open would be better, although it would make your stomach bad, probably, right? But what's happening is that these windows are opening up, and all of these things that are supposed to not get out of your stomach into your bloodstream are getting out of your stomach and into your bloodstream. And so these things that your body shouldn't have to deal with, your immune system shouldn't have to fight, are suddenly getting into your blood all the time, and not just at these times when your body's really trying to fight something bad, right? And so that's overloading your immune system, and it's causing you to have these reactions. And so, like, your body probably should be able to handle salicylates and histamines and like pesticides and non-organic foods and like all of these things.
Not me.
Yeah, but I mean, yours should be, right? But for some reason, this leaky gut thing is happening, and so all of these things we're putting into our body, instead of them passing through our digestive system
like a normal person,
and being blocked by these windows and not being broken down and put in the bloodstream, that stuff's going straight into your blood, and then your body's having to fight it, and your white blood cells are kicking in, and your immune response is kicking in, and histamines, like allergic responses, are kicking in, and so it's causing a lot of these problems, I think. Again, it's very anecdotal, like what I know about this and what we've seen, but it makes sense to me that having this leaky gut syndrome could be the reason that Presley shows sensitivity to a lot of these things. Like normally they should just pass right through and not cause a problem, but because they're getting into the blood, it's causing a bigger problem. And then you can also read about like leaky brain, which is another thing, the blood-brain barrier, like that your brain depends on your stomach to block a lot of these things out. And so if they're getting into your blood, they can get into your brain and cause some of the things that we're seeing as well. But that's why organic is kind of important because, again, the pesticides should pass right through and shouldn't be that big a deal. But if you've got leaky gut, those pesticides are getting into your blood and your body's having to fight them and deal with all of these things. That's another question.
So I was watching Vlog Brothers today, and I'm just noticing, don't just eat all natural because, not all things that are all natural are good.
That's right. We kind of talked about that yesterday a little bit. Like, not everything, just because it's organic, doesn't mean it's good for you, because some things have histamines or salicylates, even though they're organic.
Even though there are organic things that are good for you to eat either, like spiders.
Right.
Even though I eat them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, not mentioning yesterday the leaky gut thing, I think was an oversight, an important oversight, worth shooting a couple extra minutes before we cut this thing together. But I think it's important to think about that and do a little bit of reading there as well, because normally you would think these things would pass right through, and not everybody has these problems, but that could be one of the reasons some people have it and some people don't, is because of the way that leaky gut happens and occurs in some people. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. Sorry about the addition, but I thought it was worth bringing up.
Yes.
John there?